Welcome to episode 97 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies, plus tips, apps, and gear. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. My co-host, Warren Sklar's here. How you doing, Warren?
I'm here another week. How you doing?
You're here another week. Yeah,
it feels like the weeks go pretty quick. I mean, they really do, actually. I mean, it seems like we do this show. We do another show. I do another show with you and Guy, and then every Sunday my wife does a Zoom call with her family. It just feels like, every time it comes up, I feel like this just happens. So I don't know. The weeks are just tying together, man. They're just tying together.
Yeah, I thought we were probably busier than we were actually being in the office. So
yeah, well, after 2 months, you find other things to do. So. There you go.
All right, we got the usual suspects of stuff we're going to talk about this week. Beta 4 came out. Magic Keyboard, some good stuff about that, and some good stories. Apple AirPods Pro, and we got a couple really good tips. One of them, I do a little bit of the anatomy of share sheet, and wanted to go through it a little more in depth, and we'll talk about that. So, but of course, before we do any of that, we're going to start off the news. First article that caught my eye. This was an Apple Insider. Apple expects iPad and Mac sales to grow in June Q3 despite the COVID-19. And guess it's not exactly surprising that they're in this uncertain world that Apple is deciding it couldn't provide useful revenue guidelines for its fiscal Q3 ending in June. And we just reported the results of Q2 last week. But from what I saw, the stock made it over $300 a share, back up to get close to where it was. So that's a good thing. Yeah, I think people are going to start buying iPads and Macs for sure. I got the new MacBook Pro 13-inch, and we got the iPad Pro, the 2020 model. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, on the Mac side, a lot of people were holding off because of the keyboard, and even though the issue is not as bad as everybody thinks it is, perception is reality. So a lot of people didn't buy it. So now that that's not an issue anymore, I think a lot of people are just going to say it's time to buy it. So they'll do that. The iPad Pro is good. The iPad line is good. The keyboard for the iPad is good. So I mean, there's not much in the lineup now that I wouldn't recommend somebody to check out at this point. So. We'll see what the quarter after that will do, but a lot of people are at home. A lot of people are using their iPads at home. A lot of people are using their computers at home. And a lot of people didn't have computers, at home. They just, a lot of people aren't like us and aren't tech crazy, and they go to work, sit on a computer, and then come home and they don't feel like sitting on a computer anymore. And that's craziness to us, but that's true. So now they have to get something to work. There you go. So a lot of the sales are going to be companies, buying it too, but it doesn't matter. It all gets purchased anyways.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting to see, because of course iPad sales were way down last quarter, but I'd like to see a nice increase with it, but it's going to be hard to say what happens. But I think iPhone sales definitely are going to be. They're going to keep cranking. That's for sure. The SE, they haven't really said much yet as far as how many numbers are going to be coming out with that. But it's definitely going to be interesting. To say at least see where we're at. So, next story, WWDC 2020 is now going to be, as we expected, virtual. Well, they've officially announced the date. It's going to be June 22nd. There is going to be a Swift coding competition for students, which I think is kind of fun. And everything is going to be held exclusively online, which is not surprising because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and lots of cancellations, lots of other stuff, and a lot of other, like Google I/O and a lot of other conferences canceled. So this is hats off to Apple to continue on this. My interesting thing is, are they charging for this? They really haven't mentioned that yet. Have you heard anything about that?
I actually heard they're not. I heard if you have a developer account, it's that's it. You don't pay anymore. So
beautiful. So which we both do.
We both do. So they said it was free for anybody with a developer account, and they updated the developer app a little bit on iOS not too long ago to prepare. How they're going to do it, I don't know. The year I went, you and I are the same. We have the developer account, so we could play with the betas. Not that we actually develop anything, which is fine.
Which I should. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I don't want my app. What I'm waiting to not have my app out.
If I had a good idea for an app, maybe I'd think about it, but I don't.
Yeah. But that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're all out there anyways, But I mean, so when I was out in WWDC at the live event, there was a lot of sessions. There was a lot of things that.
Oh, that's right. You did go.
I did go.
There's
a bunch of things that were totally over my head, but not everything. There was a lot of things that were, interesting for just people in the field. Like at the time when I went, there was new tech. Maybe it was not even HomeKit. I forget what it was, but it was something coming into the ecosystem, and they were talking about how they're going to incorporate it, and you get like 50 or 60%. So if you have an account, check it out.
You could download. There's an app that's called it's the developer app. It's an Apple developer specific app for that, and check it out. I mean, even if you're a public beta tester, who knows? Maybe they'll let those folks in too. They really haven't got any specifics set. I would doubt it, but I agree with you. I would doubt it, but
I think it's anybody that's paying the $99 a year. Well, we'll do it, and there might be a lot of people that sign up to do it just to it's $99. If you don't have a developer account, a lot of people might be interested just to check it out for $99. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. I mean, it's not that terribly expensive. I mean, that's for sure. So I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I mean, other conference I had gone to in the past, Jamf, the Jamf JNUC, the Jamf user conference, Jamf Nation, I should say, and they were planning on moving away from Minneapolis for the first time in over 10 years because that conference would always be up there about 10 years. That conference was going to be in San Diego this year, and they already decided to cancel it and make it all virtual. And the good thing is that conference also is going to be free. So just sign up and get to watch the keynotes and the whole shebang. So I think that's the trend that's going to be the rest of this year. I'm pretty sure a lot of these conferences, it's going to be the streaming. And
it's going to lose a lot of its charm. There's definitely no doubt about that, but
I agree.
It will still be interesting, but I don't think, definitely Apple, I don't think once the pandemic's over, I'm pretty sure they're going to go back to the way it was, because I think they enjoyed.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the face-to-face. I mean, believe me, when I went to CES, it was great. A lot of good to see people, and you had folks that went or go to WWDC and a lot of the other conferences. Yeah, you just can't beat face-to-face in a sense. So
sure. Yeah.
Next story, Apple believes the iPhone SE will help lure over Android users. And the article says if you're looking for a value in a smartphone, you'd be hard-pressed not to find a better deal than Apple's recently released iPhone SE, which is priced, of course, at $399. And their next-gen SE boasts that A13 processor. Result, the device can outperform pretty much any Android device out there in the Android flagships. I'm not surprised here at all, and even Tim Cook has been anticipating what the value of this iPhone SE is going to be. I think it's going to start luring a lot more people on to the Apple side of things. What do you think?
Definitely. I mean, people go to Verizon stores and T-Mobile stores, and they start playing with the phones, and they want something under $500. And in the past, it's been like, well, you can only, it's Android phones, and they're never happy with it. So now, this is an
Yeah.
option, and I know we would recommend it over any kind of Android phone, but I think it's going to appeal to people who were not. It's going to appeal to people who want a cheap phone and
Yeah.
and want something good. It's not going to appeal to Android fanboys who wants the Samsung Galaxy 11
No,
or
no,
whatever.
not at all.
So they're not going to want it, and I don't blame them because the specs are good, but they're it's fast and all. But I'm sure
Yeah.
$1,000 Android phone is still going to have more features and better cameras and blah 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 things like that. But for somebody
Yeah.
who wants a cheap phone, you're definitely better with a SE than you are a cheap Android phone. 100%.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a Pixel 2 XL that I've had for a number of years, and I use it just for the sake of having an Android device, and it's a great phone. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, for what it does, and it has, it's pretty powerful for that phone's. Gosh, it was probably going on 3 years old now. But the Android experience to me, it just isn't there, in my opinion. There's a lot of people who will beg to differ. But and then the other problem is the operating system. You got these phones that are sold directly through the carriers, and then they don't get their updates for like a year after Google releases its new version of it. So, or at all for that matter. A lot of phones are stuck right off the bat. At least Apple's smart enough that they keep a lot of these older devices in place. So it's definitely gonna be interesting to see where all that goes. So that was in the Boy Genius report, by the way. And next story. This is an Apple World today. Apple Watch has a 55% global smartwatch market share. This is according to latest research from Strategy Analytics. Global smartwatches shipments grew over 20% annually to reach 14 million units in the first quarter of 2020. The Apple Watch maintained its first position with 55% of the global smartwatch market share, with Samsung holding second place, Garmin a third. So no surprise here. It says Apple Watch did ship 7.6 million units worldwide in quarter one of 2020, which interesting how they get that data, because I know Apple isn't sharing it. It was an above average of 23% from a 6.2 million in the quarter one of 2019. So yeah, I think this is a good thing. I mean, the Apple Watch is going to continue to excel, and new ones will be out. And I held off this time. I still have the Series 4. You have the Series 5, and I mean, when Series 6 comes out, I might be thinking. What do you think?
No, I mean, I think I saw or read, but even Garmin and the other watches are doing better than they were. So the whole market is up. It's not just Apple, but obviously Apple is crushing everybody else. But for the most part, the whole industry is up, and that's a good thing, because the more people get into smartwatches, and the more people that see them on the wrist, the more interest there is, and the more people are gonna buy one. And 9 times out of 10, if they have an Apple device, an iPhone, they're gonna get the watch.
Right.
And so for sales is people like to poo-poo the competition, but competition's great for Apple. Without Samsung and Google and and Microsoft, there wouldn't be the competition. There wouldn't be the need to get better, and that's what Apple does well. So so it's a good time to own a watch. A lot of people are home and worried about health right now. So being a health device is definitely not a bad thing for these days.
Absolutely. Then these next two stories are more just talking about devices specifically here. This one is about the AirPods. This was an iDrop News. Apple just released a new AirPods Pro firmware, which is funny. You never know they do it, and it's supposedly improving noise cancellation. And they quietly released this firmware update for the AirPods Pro, not the regular AirPods, just the Pro ones. It's bringing it to a version 2D115 as a direct upgrade from the earlier 2B588 or 2C54 versions. When it was released last October, the AirPods shipped with a specific iPad. They shipped with a specific format. I don't need to go through all those details, but unfortunately, you don't know what they did and what they changed. Other than I know there was a lot of complaints about crackling and the sound not sounding real well, and of course the noise cancellation issue. We're both using our AirPods Pro right now. I mean, I haven't had any problems. What do you think?
No, I have noticed a little bit of crackling here and there, but you never know if it's something wrong with the AirPods, or you're too far away from your phone, or it's interference or whatever. So I never really even pieced together that maybe there might be an issue. I somehow forced the update the other day when it came out. They said if you pair them and then put them back in the case and then plug the lightning cable to it to charge it, it sort of tries to force it. And for whatever reason, it worked. So I got the update. I mean, it happens so infrequently that there's no way I could reproduce it or even know that it was definitely an issue. But I know a lot of people complaining about it. And then wasn't there another issue that people complained about with the bass, or was it there was another issue people complained that when a firmware did something bad to it, or they didn't sound as good. Yeah, it might have been the AirPods too.
The sound deteriorated, or
it might have been the last gen, not the Pros. I think it was, but yeah, it seems to happen when Apple releases something. Occasionally, some people have bad luck with it. And as you said, I haven't. So they sound pretty good.
No, I love them. I think, I had the old AirPods and I bought them right when they first came out. I'm sure you did too.
Oh, yeah.
And I went and tried them the other day. I was using them on another computer and the battery's already shot. I mean, it only lasts maybe 45 minutes, if that. It's supposed to get like 2-3 hours at the bare minimum. So then I go and I said, I want to see if this is still under warranty. Of course it wasn't. And the Apple support guy says, well, we can get them shipped out and replaced to you. I'm like, okay. And it starts processing it. It'll be $243. Like, what are you, out of your mind? Well, I don't know what the price is going to be. I can go buy a brand new pair for $129 if I really wanted them. So a little silly. Spent all that time on there, and then he didn't even know. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah,
but, no,
that's not perfect.
We definitely give the AirPods Pro our thumbs up. We love them, and I use them all the time. Go ahead. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I was just going to say I have a pair of Aftershocks, the bone conducting headphones. They're my close second. Uh-huh. Yeah, I like them too. So
okay.
But I found the AirPods.
I'm a little headphone crazy here. I have the Beats Studio 3 headphones I got for free on for a Mac a year, 1 year. Yeah. Since I do get the the education discount, they were giving those away for free. And of course, my Bose QC35s, which I absolutely love those. And then of course the two the Power Beats minis, the ones that go in your ear with the rope with the string.
Did you see the Microsoft Buds that they put out there?
No, I haven't seen that.
Take a look. They look like Frankenstein ears, is what somebody else described them as.
Good old Microsoft.
We'll see.
So next story, this is in the Cult of Mac. Bridge Pro Plus firmware update to a good start, but the trackpad issues remain. Bridge, if anybody's not familiar with the company BRYDGE, is a company that's been making keyboards for the iPad for years. And then I saw them at CES when I was there in January, and they had a really cool Bridge Pro Plus keyboard with a touchpad. And this was, of course, before we knew that Apple was going to come out with one at that time. So I was drooling over a little bit, but I thought it was really nice. But I got a lot of great reviews, but unfortunately, the people just did not like the trackpad. And if you look at the trackpad, actually, the trackpad is slightly bigger, I believe, than it is on the the Magic Keyboard, but it didn't work real well. So I guess they released this firmware out, and it still isn't fixed. Apparently, but everybody's still scrolling, still isn't working. It's broken. It's too fast.
It doesn't do the
turn down the scroll speed.
From what I read, it won't do the 3-finger scroll. Yeah, it's a shame.
What do you think of this?
I think it probably has a lot to do with the fact that it doesn't use the pins connector. I think because it uses it goes over Bluetooth, and I think it's probably part of the reason. I think Apple could get a lot better response time out of the direct connection, and that's going to help with the trackpad for sure. Because I sort of heard good reviews on the Logitech one that has a trackpad, the cheap $100 one that works on the iPad, the regular iPad, not the Pro. And I'm not sure if that's Bluetooth. It might be Bluetooth as well, but yeah, it's a shame. But I read the reviews too, and I held off on wanting to buy it. So I'm glad I got the Magic Keyboard. Yeah.
Should be happy you did.
Yeah, for sure. Still works.
All right. Well, that's the news. Let's move on to some of our topics for tonight or today or whatever you're listening. Beta. We always talk about beta, and 13.5 is still in beta. And beta 4 just came out, actually, I believe yesterday, right? And I didn't see any major changes to it. What do you know a lot of the stuff that they have enhanced with 13.5 if you could recall so far?
No, not really. The only thing they're really doing is the COVID stuff from what I see, and I don't see anything different from the last beta. Everything still works as far as the same with the mask. If you're wearing a mask, it's still, which I love this feature, by the way, but the mask will be detected and let you swipe up quickly. And then they made some tweaks with the COVID tracking setting. And the only thing I could see now is it's off by default, and I can't even turn it on right now with this beta. It's stuck in that position. So I'm not sure what that means. But
now I know that they did add a new feature in Face ID, including like you just mentioned, the Face ID changes with the mask, and then the exposure notification, and they also added a feature for medical ID information where you could actually share your medical information with a first responder, and I thought that was pretty cool. You could share it right from the lock screen when you're if there's an emergency.
So it's weird in the last beta when you try to enable the COVID tracking, exposure tracking, it says not available in your country and you can't turn it on. Where the last beta you could. So I'm not sure. Maybe the US is deciding not to do it at this point.
And then of course that was the other thing that that they add. What the exposure notification system is it's an API that lets apps with public health authorities and governments worldwide help people figure out if they've been exposed to COVID-19, and if so, what steps to take. So I think that was that whole discussion that we had the Mac to the Future about disclosing all your information to the government. But I think Apple is getting smart with this.
I heard some of it, and you guys were talking how the different countries deal with that. And I heard you talking about it. And I lived in London for a while too, and it's different. Right. I found that British people are a lot more concerned about privacy than we are here, and a lot of it has to do with at least London has been starting. They've been starting surveillance on the public long before we have. They had traffic light cameras way before we did. There was actually some kind of rumor that said in London there was no public spaces that you could actually be in that you're not on CCTV. So it's just a different. At this point, we're just trying to get rid of this pandemic, whatever it takes at this point, so we could get back to life. Is how I feel. Whatever.
Yeah.
If the government wants to come in and take my blood, fine. At this point,
think we're getting pretty close to the last to the release of 13.5 pretty soon here. I wouldn't be all surprised if it comes out as in the next few weeks, because with WWDC on its way here and moving from that. So
soon iOS 13 is going to be old news. So
yeah, we'd probably be at iOS 14 at that point, and it's definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about iOS 14 either. Like, I haven't heard any rumors.
Yeah, I mean, some rumors, but
there was one thing with the home screen looking a little different. That was right, where it's going to look a little bit like a little bit more like the Apple Watch screen, and the most recent apps are going to be not the most recent. It's going to do Siri suggestions on a home screen, more or less, of what apps they think you want to open. But that's all I heard.
Yeah. So that's beta this week, and who knows? Probably I might have another beta version next week, and we'll definitely talk about it. So let's go on and talk about a little bit about the Magic Keyboard. You and I both have had the Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pro for about 2 weeks now. So now it's 2 weeks in. Where are you at with it? Are you using a lot more now?
About the same. I'm getting to a point now where I use it where it makes sense to use it. Where the first week was using it for the sake of using it. But for the times that I use it, to work, it does exactly what I want it to do. And it's I have no issues with it. I haven't found anything that we haven't talked about. The little bit. Mm-hmm. The viewing angle could be a little better. The top row of the keyboard could be a little less blocked by the iPad. But other than that, and what I read is it's basically geometry. If they would have made it lean back anymore, it would have fell over because of the weight of it. So I still use it. I still love it. I still love it a lot more than I did before I got the keyboard.
So iFixit actually, I would thought by now iFixit would have already had this thing torn apart and torn down and looking in the insides, because that's what they do. But we have an article in the show notes that we're going to link back to. Is they were able to do an X-ray, believe it or not. And I don't know if I've normally seen iFixit do that, but it's interesting to look at this picture to see the X-ray, and we're looking at what the inside of the Magic Keyboard looks like. You definitely can see right away with the keys. It's no longer butterfly. It's the Magic Keyboard. Did you take a look at this? What do you think?
Yeah, so I didn't really look too deep into it, but I saw the picture of it. They said it was a lot of tech in that little package, so that's cool. Yeah. I mean, I still don't know why they couldn't get into it. I know it's probably hermetically sealed, but I'm sure they could have found a way.
No, actually, they said because of their social distancing and teardown schedules, they weren't able to kept up from physically getting inside this Magic Keyboard. But I would venture to say at some point you will be seeing
inside of it. Yeah,
what it looks like inside. But yeah, I'm loving it. I have it sitting next to me a lot more now than I had ever before. Like the way it feels with the typing. Again, only thing I'm not so keen about is the battery life, that's I've been noticing that the battery has not been staying charged very long. So I'm plugging it in right now as it's down to 37% here on mine
with the keyboard on.
So yeah, with the keyboard, and with the keyboard on, when you close it, of course, it's not going. But you got to remember the backlit. The keyboard's backlit, so it's going to be using battery power with that. You definitely want to be aware of that when it comes to that. So, let's go through some tips and tricks with this Magic Keyboard. Have you gone through a lot of these settings yet, and tried a lot of this stuff yet? I have, and I just wanted to kind of share it with everybody else here. Have you?
I'm looking. I did number one. Obviously, I love the fact that I could charge
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's just we'll just start through these. And the first one is, and then we're linking to Matt Groomers did a great article on tips and tricks for the Magic Keyboard, but make sure we give them credit. There is a free USB port now, which is great. So now you can plug in your power to the port is on the left, and it's right into the side of the Magic Keyboard. So I just plugged it in now. So that's a charging port. Now remember, this is only a charging port. You can only charge it. You can't use it for data or plugging in like a drive or anything like that. So be aware of that. You do have to connect your external display or any other kind of stuff that's going to the main port that's on the iPad. But at least that frees it up now. So now you have 2 USB-C ports instead of 1. This one was interesting as far as modifier keys. If you want to be able to go in and modify the keys, maybe there's some keys that you don't use all the time, and you'd like to reclaim the escape key. You can go in and actually to do this. You go under General Keyboard and then Hardware Keyboard, and then there's a modifier section in there, and then you choose the modifier key you'd like to change. Maybe you don't use the caps lock all the time. You could change that to the escape key if you'd like. If you wanted to escape out of it, there's a global key on here too. You could you can go through and do modifiers of all these keys and add that. Have you tried that at all?
Yeah, I did. I tried it for the escape, and I thought I would want the escape button more than I wanted the caps lock, and I was wrong, so I changed it back. So I've gotten used to life without an escape key on the iPad at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've used it. I mean, we weren't even using keyboards. We'd have it without using the virtual keyboard. So
and that's the thing is, a lot of times you just, once you start using this thing, you forget that you can still touch it. And it's like, I'm like in something and I want to get out of this and I want to kill the app. And I'm like, you know what? I just lean over and just do it. And it works just as well. So the fact that you could use the keyboard and still use the touch, is great. Yeah. And a lot of people, it's so good that you actually forget that it's a touch keyboard. It's a touch screen. So, yeah. Yep.
If you want to get access quickly to the virtual keyboard, you can go right on the on-screen virtual keyboard. You can to do things like typing in accident characters, and because you are limited, there are some things you can't do on this Magic Keyboard. You could touch and hold the downward facing chevron in the bottom right corner of the iPad screen, and then it'll bring it up. And then you can just hide it again. You can just tap the key in the bottom right corner of the screen again and do it. Have you tried that at all?
No, that's never needed to get the virtual keyboard up yet.
Yeah.
So.
Then you want to be able to adjust the backlight brightness. That's the only drawback that. There are no F keys, so you don't have no function keys, so you can't change it. So you actually go in. It actually goes based on the iPad Pro sensors to detect the lighting in your room. So if the keyboard will go light or dark depending on what you're doing and if you press the keys. But you can go into the settings app and then you go into General Keyboard, Hardware Keyboard again, and then simply you can drag the keyboard brightness slider to the left or the right to make it brighter or dimmer. And even Mac Stories actually for Federico Vitici created a handy shortcut that launches the hardware keyboard section directly, so you can have a little shortcut if you wanted to as well. And customizing the cursor behavior. Do you mind the cursor? Because I think they said that this was specifically designed that they really designed it with the iPad in mind. Do you mind it at all?
No. I'm actually fine with it. It's fine. Before this whole thing, they were doing that silly thing with the accessibility thing with the trackpad. That I minded. That bothered me. That cursor was a bad thing, but this is fine. I don't miss it being a pointer. I wouldn't want it actually being a pointer, and the bubble works perfectly for me. So. That's a good thing about a lot of these tips and tricks is once, there's not a lot of customization you could do. And I think Apple did that on purpose right now because, they knew they kind of got it right and they don't want people kind of messing up with it too much.
Yeah. And then the tap to click, the two fingers secondary click. If you ever own a Mac, you know, if you do the natural scrolling, would you tap it? Well, you can go into settings, general, and then trackpad, and then you can switch on toggle next to tap and click, and then that tap so the trackpad surface with one finger to register a click instead of having it to be physically pressing the trackpad. You can also make it a two-finger tap if you click them behave as a second click or right click. If you use a two-button mouse and simply enable the two-finger secondary click on the toggle in the same trackpad settings mode. Again, that's in general and then trackpad. Then you can go in and make those changes. They're just toggle switches on and off. So that's tap to click and two fingers secondary click. Did you try that at all?
Yeah, that I did play with. And
okay.
I think I just set it back to the way it was. I'm a natural scrolling person, and the tap to click, I did turn that on because I found that it was, you had there's one that where if you tap or touch to click, right? Because right now you don't have to push down, you just gotta tap on it. Yeah, that's a tap to click. You don't actually have to push it down. I found it a lot easier to work with doing it that way.
Yeah. And then one more, we'll to access the emojis, you know, because emojis are very important when you're typing. The globe key that's on the keyboard, which is the bottom left key, will bring up the emojis whenever you're in an app that, like, if you're in messages, let's say, and you're composing a message, you tap that, and then the emojis will come up. They toggle up when you press it. So, as well as it gives you access to the keyboarding language and all that other stuff. So. That's some of the tips we have for the Magic Keyboard. I hope there are folks who are out there who have purchased one for their iPad, because we're really liking it, and I would love to hear from you if any of you have a Magic Keyboard, and would love to give us any reviews or what you're thinking of the Magic Keyboard. Please send us an email at feedback@intouchwithios.com, and we'll talk about you on the show. And I'd like to hear anybody else's thoughts of how they're liking this Magic Keyboard. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nope. Good to go.
All right. Two more things we want to talk about, and we in fact we kind of did talk about the AirPods Pro. I don't know if we'll go through that again here, but this article was on Medium, actually, and it's always a feel good meeting when you hear about finding my lost Apple Watch may have just made me an Apple fanboy forever. 3 weeks in the ocean, it's still good as new. Basically, he's out in the North Beaches of Sydney, and his watch came off of his wrist, and sure enough, they were able to find it. It was just amazing. It was in 3 to 4 meters of seawater, about 30 meters out of shore, and a surf break, and then I guess it came up on shore. After gone missing, someone had found it. Just crazy.
Don't try this at home.
What's that?
So don't try it at home. Don't test the theory.
I'm not saying don't try this, but I mean, you know, the stranger things have happened. I mean, it's just amazing being able to find these devices, and you know, besides the fact of finding it, which is great, is the fact that it helps with your life too. I mean, with heart measurements and AFib and all the other things that the watch has offered. This is just a great story. I'd hate to lose too, but I mean, amazing. If it's still in salt water, it still was communicating. just crazy.
Yeah, I've definitely swam in a regular pool with my watch. I'm still a little wary about going to the ocean with it. So I think you can, but I'm not there yet. But definitely under just a regular chlorine pool, it's fine.
Yeah. I'm a little nervous still. I'm still a little nervous swimming with my watch. I always take it off. I mean, I've got the cloth, the Velcro band, and I don't know if that does real well in water. So you probably have to switch it to the plastic band.
How many bands? I got like 500 bands. I know you have 500
you
bands.
You and me both.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Just swap it out with one of the other bands.
I'll swap it out. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not complaining. I just as you see on the camera for as our Facebook Live here, I'm using, that's the band I have, and I just tend to not change it. I like it. It's so comfortable. But of course, I have to have 3 versions of this band in different colors. So, got the right color.
Your band is as cool as mine. The black, it's the black bracelet. Yep. The most expensive band out there. Da-da. I got it used.
Did you really?
Well, I bought it used, but it's in perfect shape. It was like half price, so it was like 200 something. But I love it.
Wow.
It's beautiful. It's great.
That's crazy.
It's good stuff.
But yeah, we love bands. So, well, link in show notes for that article. I thought it was great to hear about that stuff. And we could touch a little bit on AirPods again with the firmware upgrade. There was a great article in Tidbits. My friend Adam Angst talked about some tensions about what was going on about the AirPods, and we touched upon that during the news. So I'll link back to this article in the show notes as well. Do you have any other thoughts about this before we move on that?
No, I mean, just we'll see how it goes. As I said, my firmware just updated the other day, so I'll play around, see if it makes any difference. Right now, I don't hear any difference. So,
all right, so let's move into some tips. I know everybody's been has been waiting on hearing about some of the tips that we have this week. Now, one of the tips I wanted to do is I wanted to do a bit of a share sheet discussion. I want to just kind of discuss the anatomy of the share sheet and want you to understand a little bit about what it's done. In iOS 13, they've really done some phenomenal things in changing. So if everybody's not familiar, they know what the share sheet is. Probably the most popular place to go is whenever you open up a Safari browser and you want to be able to share something with somebody. That's that little box on the bottom row there with this arrow up, right? So, and you tap that. And I'm assuming Warren, you use this all the time, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So what they've done is Apple's added some really enhanced features, and I have an actual image of with some arrow pointers that you're going to see in the show notes. As I describe this, but the actual preview header is at the very top there. That they call that the preview header. And if you want to, there is an option under there. So if you want to follow along, go and open up a web browser and then click that share sheet. And then whatever web page you're on, that's the preview header of the actual web page. In that link there, you could tap the link options. Now you have some other options in there. You can send this automatically as you can send it automatically. You can send it as a PDF, or you can send it as a web archive. So you have some flexibility of changing that if you so desire. Then the next row is they call the conversation suggestions. So the last people that you have had text messages with are all going to appear in that row. So it's easy to send somebody something that you want to send to. Also, will also show in there if you have any AirDrop devices, like my iPad Pro, which is right next to me, also is in there as a frequent item as an AirDrop device. So it gives you that option there. Then the third row is the apps themselves that can be sent with the share sheet. You can actually go in and slide over to the far from left to right, and if you tap the More button at the far right there, that's where you can set where your favorites are, and you can actually edit those favorites and reorder them. Do you have a lot of favorites in the share sheet like that? All you just keep the defaults, or
I keep the defaults, and 99% of the time it's fine. Once in a while, I'll be looking for something in the share sheet that I'm pretty sure should be there, and it's not there. So I might find that, but I just leave it default.
So like right now, my default AirDrop is always in the favorites, so you can't change that. But you can actually reorder them. So, like, let's say you want to make if you send a lot of things through Facebook Messenger, you want to make that the first choice. Then you can grab the hamburger and move it all the way up to the top, and then that'll reorder it to there. Now, just below that, there are some choices. It says suggestions. Now, if you wanted to add other favorites in there and have them in your favorites list, you can. When you scroll through the list, it is going to show standard ones that are on there. Now, you do have options to turn off these suggestions too, because the suggestions are going to be there at the far right. Your favorites are going to be the first four, first five, or however many you create from on the far left. But you can toggle each one of these suggestions off. So maybe it might be one that you don't even use. Like I have an app called iThoughts, and if I tap that off and I tap done, and if I go back in there, it won't show up there at all in the list. So you have those ways of getting in there, and just scroll through the bottom. You have all these other apps that if you want the options to be in the apps list in the share sheet, you can do that. And then below that is the actions list. You in the actions list, so you scroll down the whole row here. Of course, it already has the first thing. By default, would have to be like copy. That's probably the most common thing that you use. But you can do things like add to favorites if, like, this website you particularly want to be able to add to your favorites in Safari. It gives you that option. But what I do is I scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then there's an edit actions button here. And then this gives you the option to customize even more. Your favorites are in there. So I have add to favorites as my first one. I might want to grab the hamburger and move up the copy to the top instead, because I might copy things more frequently. So you have options to do that. And you can add other actions in here too, depending on what apps you have installed on your device. Like Find on My Page is a Safari action that could be added. You have other actions like I have 1Password you can add there as a particular action. I might want to add that as a way to access 1Password quicker from a share sheet. Shorten URL, there might be that's a nice option. Have you played with any of these? Have you added any of this stuff in here?
I wish I had, but no. I mean,
you weren't even aware of this stuff?
No, I am, but it's actually it's a good thing. It goes to show that whatever I'm looking to do in the share sheet, I usually am able to do and find. So I don't have to play with it too much, and I use it all the time. I use the share sheet all the time. So it actually is pretty intuitive, and it does a lot of things. So I'll play with it, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way it works. And it's there's some features.
I mean, I think most people are.
Yeah, there's features with some technology where it's like you could customize it and but a lot of people like it's not useful and I don't use it, but it's actually in some cases you have to use it to do something, like print something. A lot of people don't. A lot of things I'll do is open in Safari, which is always a good thing too, because some things you're reading on an app or something doesn't open or look right, so you do that a lot. Yeah. But it's a testament that I don't need to play around with the settings too much for it to do exactly what I need it to do. Yep.
So that's share sheets. Any questions? If you want to reach out to us, again, email feedback at intouchwithios.com and share with some of the stuff that you have as far as what you use the share sheet for. And then the next tip I wanted to go over is actually some of the advanced settings in Mail. There were some things I wasn't aware of. I keep forgetting that this stuff's in here. And Mail does have some settings that you can change. This is the native iPhone Mail app. To get to that, all you have to do is tap Settings and then scroll down and go to Mail. Then when you go in there, you have some options in here. So you have allow Mail to access settings. So if you want Siri and Search to be able to access Mail, you can do that. You can have Siri suggestions and all that kind of stuff. Same thing with Search. So there's some controls in there for Search. For notifications, you can just turn it on, allow notifications. So the I have like about you probably are saying like me, I have like 6 email accounts in my my mail account here. And you can have it show just the badges, and you can have it to set where it goes if it's in a notification center, if you want sounds, all that stuff, that's all controllable in there as well under notifications. And then cellular data, if you don't want to be checking email over cellular data, you can turn that off, which is great. In the message list, you have preview, and there's you can set however many lines you want to see in the preview. It can go up to 5 lines. Have you changed the setting at all? I'm defaulted 2.
Yeah, I'm still defaulted 2. I haven't changed that.
I don't think there's any reason. Yeah. You could turn on the show to and CC labels. Keep that off. There is settings as far as how the swipe works. If you swipe left, you can flag. If you swipe right, you can mark as read. You can change those to however you want to do it. If you want to change swipe options, like you could change it to move or archive. You can go in there and make some changes to the swipe options. Messages. If you wanted to ask you before deleting, I leave that off. I think most people do. That would drive me crazy. Do you sure you want to delete this? You keep that off. And then load remote images, you can turn that on or off as well. Have you messed with that with you? I assume you leave that deleted off, like by default. I don't think anybody's touched that, right?
Yeah, I haven't touched that. The one I did change, I think, is the swipe actions. Because a couple of email accounts change depending on that behavior, depending on the type of account. Like Gmail, that defaults to archive or something if you swipe it. Whereas some,
I don't want it to archive. I want to delete it.
Yeah, so I changed that. So, and then Exchange will delete if you know. So I'm like you.
Right.
If I'm swiping left, I never want to see it again, ever.
Yeah. And the rest of the settings that are in here, threading. The first thing I turn off is organized by thread. That drives me crazy. I hate that view.
Yeah, I hate that too.
Do not like that view at all. Collapse read messages. That's on. Most recent messages is on the top. You could turn that on, and you can turn that on and do that. And then complete threads, you can turn that on. That's off. And then mute thread action, mark as read. You can go in there and change that, or archive and delete. And then blocked, you actually go in and look up all the blocked. This is actually a link where you can get into the blocked phone numbers as well as any emails that you block. And then composing, you got always BCC myself, which I guess some people do that. Do you do that?
No.
I some people do that. They like to have a copy of an email every time they send it.
That's what sent items are for.
Yeah, go back in your sent items a little.
Yeah, that's I get enough mail where I don't need to mail myself every time I mail somebody.
Yeah, and this is an interesting feature. I haven't even tried this. I didn't even know this one was in here. Mark addresses. You could turn that on, and it says mark addresses not ending with, and you put in like an example, example.com or .org. I never tried that. It's interesting. You know what that is?
Oh.
Weird.
I do not.
That's an interesting one. Increase quote level, include attachments with replies. Yeah, you could. I leave that as never. That's the default. And then you, of course, since we have multiple email accounts in our email and in our mail app, I have 8 signatures, and you can have a signature per account, or you can use the same signature for all. Well, of course, I want to do per account because each email is different. I'm assuming you do that too.
No, I have sent from my iPhone. No matter what email account I send it to.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I don't like sending that. I take that off. And then you set you set whatever email account is your default.
Yeah,
so.
that I do. And you could actually set it to whatever. In here, you could set a default account, but generally it's going to. If you're replying to an email, obviously from one of the other accounts, it's going to still reply to from that account. It's not always going to send from that account, depending on some of the situations. But for the most part, it will.
Yeah. And then the last tip we wanted to go over today was how to change your passcode and then skip Face ID to enter passcode and other things you can do. The place to go when you go to that is if you go into the settings area there, and then you scroll down and go to Face ID and passcode. If you can't find it, you can always search for it at the top there. And when you go into there, of course, it's going to ask you for your passcode when you put that in. And then here, this is where you have choices how you want to control what Face ID does. And of course, assuming you have a phone that has Face ID, if you have like an iPhone SE, of course you have Touch ID. So, things like iPhone Unlock, iTunes App Store, Apple Pay, password autofill. You want Face ID to be able to do that. And then you also can set other apps that'll have Face ID. There's a lot of apps that support Face ID, which is great. I love that, especially banks, which is awesome. Requiring your passcode, you should set that to immediately. You don't want anybody to get a chance to do that. You could always turn that off and definitely get that set. Have you gone any of the stuff and actually messed around with any of these settings?
No. Other than I did a alternate Face ID, so I didn't. That's a little different. But no. Again, I'm on the beta now, so I'm pretty happy with the way it's working as far as the Face ID thing goes.
Right. What motivated a lot of people who wanted to skip that Face ID right away is if you want to, because of the mask. But 13.5 is going to be out pretty soon here, so it'll be kind of pointless to do this at this point. But I think it's good to know some of these things and where to go to control the way your phone. And I mean, this all applies for the iPad as well. All these tips that we talked about today. Do you have anything else you want to say about the Face ID and the security?
Nope. Just get excited for the next version that lets you wear a mask. It really does. It's such a minor thing that helps a lot. It saves you a couple seconds every time you open up the phone, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have come to a close of our show this week. Did you have anything else you wanted to add on any of the topics we talked about tonight or today? No, I think we're good. Keep an eye out on the AirPods. I am very curious about the AirPods Pro firmware to see if that changes anything, because I think now that I'm thinking about it more, I have noticed this issue, so I'm going to definitely test that out a little bit more. What else? I've been playing Song Pop for an app. Song Pop 2. That came back?
It came back. Yeah. It was like gone for a while, and then all of a sudden it's like number 1 or 2 or 3 in the App Store. So I'm like, why not? I'm bored. And I'm pretty good at that kind of stuff. So that's always good.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We should have a Zoom meeting and then have
that too. Yeah, we should definitely do it. So that's been fun. And everything else is great. We'll see what happens this week with soon with this there's all the news stories with the governments and COVID tracking and all that.
That keeps going. So we definitely check that out.
I mean, we could talk about it.
So
it's really no use to talk about it. So
I forgot to mention thanks to Renee Ritchie last week for being on the show. We had a great time. It was a great show. Appreciate it.
Very cool.
And you got to meet him for the first time, and me as well. And it was a lot of fun. It was very, very, very cool. Next week, a programming note, we're going to actually have another guest, Victor Cayo, who is a former podcaster, was on the Typical Mac User for many years, a long time ago. But he's a tech guy, Apple guy, and we wanted to have him on the show and talk about all kinds of fun things that has to do with Apple and iOS and all those related technologies. So with that, what do you say, Warren? Should we wrap this up?
Yeah, it's time. It's time for bed.
It is time. Let's wrap this up. This is a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address at feedback@apple intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Warren, where can everybody find you?
Mostly I hang out on Facebook, do a lot of with the Facebook groups that are Apple related, specifically Mac to the Future. That's Mac to the Future. It's a good Facebook group that we talk about Apple stuff and life in general, but mostly tech and Apple.
Sometimes in Guatemala.
Sometimes, and most of the time in Guatemala, it seems. And
inside joke.
And Dave and I also do a podcast on Wednesday evenings. I had to miss it yesterday because my son had a birthday.
Happy birthday, Jacob.
Thank you. He turned 17. It's kind of amazing that I have a 17-year-old, but there you go. But normally we do Together with Guys Cyril Wednesday nights on Facebook, YouTube, or whatever the heck he does with that thing.
Yeah, he is crazy, and I had to do this. If I can get it to work.
Yeah, I heard it.
I now have a built-in sound effect for him.
There you go. That's good.
So
awesome.
Anyway, thanks. Appreciate it, Warren, and thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll talk again soon.